If you're following my channel, then you should know that I'm quite the fan of Tomb Raider, and if you're following me and don't know that, then I'm kind of impressed that you missed that, to be honest. However, while I love almost every game in the series, there's one specific entry to the saga of Lara Croft that I do not. The Angel of Darkness, famously the last game the original developer's core design would work on, and also rushed out the door riddled with bugs, broken controls, and missing content. And because of these problems, it's the only game in the series that I've only ever beaten once, and honestly, I'd love to know how I pulled it off. Every subsequent attempt to finish it has been met with endless frustration, as I spend more time fighting with the controls than actually playing the game. But one thing has always thrown me off. There are people out there who consider Angel of Darkness to be the greatest game in the series. And as someone who utterly hates every minute of attempting to play this thing, I've never understood how that could ever be possible. This is where enterprising, code-savvy fans come in, because I don't believe anyone has enjoyed the game in its release date, and instead has likely enjoyed it with the extensive fan patches for the PC version, largely produced by Tomb Raider forum members Sasho648, Nakamichi68 and Slayer. Patches that set out to iron out the bugs, fix the bad controls, and generally try and improve the experience for everyone. A noble goal, but how successful were they? This is where I finally decided to find out for myself. It was time to sit down, grab the Steam version, and then patch it with everything that fans had thrown together. And oh boy, there was a lot. This is the guide I followed, and it's got something like 20 steps, each one its own patch. And so much of it involves overwriting and copying files on your system in a very specific order. A task made harder by some of the links no longer working, but I got most of the important ones, I think? A good couple of hours of downloading, copying, moving and installing files later, it was time to load the game and see what all the fuss was about, only to then discover it didn't read my Xbox controller, so it was time to download a third-party program designed to feed controller inputs into old PC games, along with a fan-made configuration to make this specific game work. And then it was time to play Tomb Raider: The Angel of Darkness, and in today's video I'm going to offer up my level-by-level thoughts on the game. Do I find it more enjoyable with the patches? Is there a hidden gem in here after all? Let's find out together, shall we?
This looks like a safe area, but I need to find a way out.
The first level is definitely the best place to try out the new and possibly improved controls, and oh yeah, this is much better. My main issue with the original game was how sluggish Lara was, often slow to respond to inputs and moving like she was wading through molasses. With these fan patches, she's a lot snappier, and I'd argue possibly too snappy, as there were times where she'd rocket off at the slightest provocation, which was better than the original, but forced me to be a little more careful with how I approached the game. And in this first level, that was fine, as often I could simply solve this problem by just walking. Another improvement added by the fan patches was not forcing you to stand still while Lara explained the controls in depth. As someone who's been playing the series since 1998, I'm fully aware of how these games handle, and I don't need a lengthy explanation, so this added ability to skip past it all is welcome. I actually really enjoyed this level thanks to these improvements. I happily did the backtracking that you can do to get extra items once you have the crowbar. I've never done that anytime I've attempted to replay the game, because it's enough of a chore to climb to the top of the building in the first place, but it's much less annoying now. This is an excellent start. I look forward to the rest of the game.
I feel stronger now.
This level opens with a race against time as cops burst through the door and gas the place, a concept that doesn't make a lot of sense when you realise a bunch of it would surely go back out through the door they came through, but hey, video games I guess. In the base game, I could rarely reach the top in enough time without losing a bunch of air in the process, as Lara's stodgy movements meant a race against time is not really a viable concept. These improved controls made things so much more enjoyable, although that auto-skip aspect on Lara's comments led to some weirdness with cameras at one point. Also, a room with a fixed camera angle utterly defeated me with these faster controls, so there is that. I still have issues with this level though. The locked doors that you can encounter require backtracking, but the gas seemed to enter the picture way before I could ever reach the room with the key, so it seems like it would force you to lose air just to open these doors. I might be missing something here, and shoving the cabinet in front of the door didn't really slow down the cops either, so this feels like an issue.
That wire looks like it will take my weight.
Industrial Rooftops is a level with some easy progression hampered by control issues that persist even with the patch. The police chopper's potshots hit seemingly at random, and that's a design problem, and sometimes there are issues with sliding and jumping in places. I also went to the lower alternate route by accident at one point, and the game killed me with a glitch, which was nice. It's a weird level too, because taking the main route along the rooftops leads to the level being super short once you've wrangled the controls into behaving. It's really odd.
Mademoiselle Carvier, it's Lara Croft. I need your help.
Carvier's apartment is the first bit of evidence of the game showing potential that it doesn't live up to, likely due to time constraints. This level is entirely one room and sets up the concept that the police are on their way, and then it does nothing with this. It's very strange. There's not much else to talk about here, to be honest.
That's dangerous information.
I'm a dangerous girl.
Parisian Ghetto is a really cool hub area that's much more fun to wander around when the controls aren't terrible. It's an incredibly detailed area with a lot going on, and you can really see the level of quality core we're aiming for here. I also liked the character interactions that add an RPG feel. I remember not liking this when I originally played it, believing this wasn't something a Tomb Raider game should have. But replaying it now, I'm actually kind of cool with it. It adds a lot of atmosphere, and while we've yet to get on with raiding any actual tombs at this point, it's a fun setup. If I do have a criticism, it's in the weird antagonism that exists in every interaction. It's a little bit grating, and every character is guilty of it. That said, it does lead to this delightful bit of sass.
Move along, ma chère. You make the place look crowded.
I wouldn't worry. We're not in the same class.
Damn. Damn.
He did run the club across the road, Le Serpent Rouge.
Not to be confused with recently released indie game The Serpent Rogue, the Serpent Rouge used to be the initial point where my frustration with the base game's controls hit a wall. There's a stealth takedown tutorial, gunfights with numerous enemies, and a complex bit of platforming up in the club's lighting rig. And with the original controls, all of this became the worst, and the urge to rage quit would begin rising. I have to commend Sasho, Nakamichi and Slayer for their improvements because I actually really enjoyed this level, and that's the biggest compliment that I can give. There were still issues, as the sped up controls meant that I had to walk a lot, but that's a vast improvement over endless frustration. The platforming section is a lot of fun now, and the initial stealth takedown is actually enjoyable. The gunfights were still bad though, but that's a criticism I can level at Core's Tomb Raider era in general. Combat has never been this franchise's strong point. But turning this from the initial quit point to a genuinely fun time, perhaps this game can be salvaged.
Watch out for the ledges. They are dangerous.
I don't even remember this level. It's a really short one where you're mostly jumping across mausoleums to solve a puzzle to open a grave. And that's basically it. Another transitional level, but oh boy, do these control improvements make this so much less frustrating to play.
What happened to your man in the room out there, Bouchard?
This level is another common quit point for me, as the assorted platforming challenges early on would frustrate me to an unbelievable degree. This would come to a head later on when you have a block puzzle to reach a high ledge with a switch. I distinctly remember this as the exact point I stopped playing on my last playthrough attempt, and this time I just did it. It wasn't a chore anymore, and honestly, I was like, I've got to this point already? Which I think says a lot, really. I am still in awe of how much these patches have fixed this game. I'm starting to believe this game really is much better now.
I can smell oil. I'd better be careful.
Okay, maybe not, as this level I died once because I decided to not walk on a narrow ledge, and then Lara freaked out and decided to vault over a railing to her death. Again, I do have to remember that sometimes with these patches, she will just rocket off into the distance. Also, this level has a weird bit of game design that I feel needed a bit more time to get right. You have to blow a hole in a wall, and the only safe place to go to avoid being blasted apart is the pool of water at the bottom. Except Lara mentions the smell of gasoline in the room, so I assumed the pool was full of gasoline. Seems like a logical thing, right? So naturally I avoided that pool and just tried to run away from the blast, and got very confused when I kept dying. That feels like it needed a bit more playtesting to avoid that potential confusion, but obviously they ran out of time.
Mademoiselle keeps a tidy office.
I remember this level, so it must have done something right when I first played it, and the fact that I enjoyed the level this time around says that they really did. Sneaking around the most famous gallery in the world is a lot of fun and manages to successfully combine the urban setting with the ancient history the series is built around. It's also better because the controls aren't ass anymore, and so stealth kills are much more viable. And a key timed jump is less frustrating because Lara actually responds to your button presses now. In fact, the only criticism I have is actually kind of a nitpicky comment about how the Mona Lisa room is massively inaccurate to the real one. I've been to the real one, the painting isn't off to one side, and it's also really tiny. But I can forgive it because, to be fair, this is the face they gave her, so it's pretty clear that accuracy was not the priority here.
Then the paintings were hidden.
Okay, I'm going to be nitpicky about this level too, because I don't understand why the Archaeological Dig is under the Louvre itself. The Louvre is right in the middle of Paris, a city that's had extensive excavation because of its metro system. It has the same vibe as the Da Vinci Code, which proclaims something mystical is hidden underneath the Louvre pyramid, and having been there I can confirm that it's a shopping mall, and also an entrance to the gallery. It's really not that exciting, and there certainly isn't a full-blown archaeological dig down there. Anyway, that aside, this is a slightly confusing level that has an entire climbing wall that seemed to go nowhere, and the actual door puzzle is a bit strange, but it's fine.
Together, the 5 paintings hide something called the Sanglyph.
Oh no, we have problems. It's here that I really started to notice some serious issues that would persist through the rest of the game. While a lot of good work has been done with these fan patches, there's one specific glitch that turned up here and led to one jump being more frustrating than necessary. Namely, if you don't have Lara grab instantly when you jump, she'll never grab the ledge you're aiming for. And this was a persistent problem that I saw elsewhere in the game, and it became a real issue here. This specific level is a pretty small one though, which mostly sees you climbing down into a pit. It's a decent enough transitional level, which would have been less frustrating if the jumping wasn't weirdly bugged here.
Through the spirit of the Keeper, behold the truth.
Oh my god, no. Again, for all the good work done by fans on this, a lot of that falls apart right here. This is a massive level with a really fun concept that sadly is not a lot of fun to play. It's split into 4 segments, each one based on the classic elements, and these segments have issues. Okay, the water and wind stages weren't too bad, the former was just a bit of swimming around, while the latter was a basic platform challenge that was less challenging than appearances suggested. But the fire room constantly killed me because I didn't realise you had to wait before charging in, a fact that isn't helped with a dramatic opening shot that kept making me assume I had to rush before I got caught on fire. No, you had to wait specifically to not get caught on fire, so thanks for that. But the earth room was straight up broken, to the point where even the fan patches seem to have missed how glitchy it was, and I don't mean control issues or Lara sometimes freaking out if she went too near a wall. I mean the game straight up freezing and throwing me back to the desktop with an extensive error message, which happened often. And what's more, the level just keeps going, and after the game makes it clear that a lower area full of traps is a sneaky way to catch you out that you're not supposed to visit, it then turns out that you do need to visit it once these rooms are done. It's another example of Angel of Darkness feeling like it was trying to weirdly misdirect me away from the actual objective, and further proof that this game really needed a bit more time to figure itself out. To be fair, the steampunk ancient engine room was really cool, so I can forgive it for that, and it really reminded me of a similar area in Chronicles, which I also thought was cool design. Clearly I just like ancient machines. But oh boy, does the level just keep going after this too, and it features a really obnoxious boss fight, which is the start of a pattern with this game. Oh, you'll see.
You were attracting a lot of attention there.
This level provided a change to the usual misdirection with a more clearly signposted puzzle. You have to get a gas mask to stop Lara dying from gas flooding the gallery, and if you were diligent in the previous visit, you'd have found a suspicious locked storage cabinet, and that's where I knew to go straight to, and it was the right place to go. This level is a really short one that's mostly focused on combat, but you get possibly the most overpowered gun, so it ends up being a gleeful rush through the level, simply tasing everyone in one shot. Oh, we also get our first real interaction between Lara and bonus side protagonist Curtis Trent, and my god is this man the definition of 2003. Every aspect of his design looks like once he was done with this tomb raiding nonsense, he had to get to the Warped Tour to play bass for his band that evening. It's incredibly distracting.
Egypt, Werner. You walked away and left me.
Okay, so this level is what I would have liked to have seen a bit more of back in Carvier's place. It's a full-on escape from an apartment building with traps and an assassin trying to take Lara out. This assassin is definitely the worst aspect of the level though, as he will persistently fire at you whenever he appears, but again, combat in Tomb Raider has always been the worst aspect, so whatever. Also, it was only here that I learned Lara could stealth crawl, so that was handy. Thanks to Stellar of Tomb Raider walkthroughs fame for informing me of this, since the game itself certainly didn't. But generally this level had some good potential. I feel like there could have been a bit more to it generally, but otherwise good.
It's time I visited Prague.
Another big hub level like the Parisian backstreets, although this one's a little less interesting and a little less populated because there's only one major character to talk to in the journalist, but there's a lot of cool intrigue here that keeps the plot interesting. There's a great atmosphere, and it's where the game's ambitions really shine through once again, and I feel like perhaps there were plans to populate this a bit more and have more going on, but again, ran out of time, kept it to the bare minimum. I will say, the crime scene itself, with the grand library full of artifacts and a big puzzle to solve, is one of the best parts of the game. I completely forgot this place existed from when I played it originally, and it actually took me by surprise. There's some real classic Tomb Raider design here, and I'm always here for that.
I wonder what needs that kind of security to keep it in.
This is one of the least interesting levels visually, as it's mostly just a warehouse in its appearance. It also has a lot of notable issues that even the patches fail to fix. The stealth sections in the warehouse felt a little inconsistent and required a couple of retries. The block puzzle to use the steam pipe to cross the fence was fiddly and awkward, and I'm not sure why they designed it this way. Also, there was this moment here with these floating gentlemen, but do you know what, I'll allow this one because it's just funny.
Wouldn't you know it? My route goes through that biodome.
I actually remember quite a bit of this level from my original playthrough. In fact, I only really remember this part of Prague, because it does have a striking visual design with its decaying greenhouse vibe full of monster plants. It might also help that it has the game's silliest line.
If I had a coconut for every time some lunatic said something like that.
But this is a cool level that I really like, and being able to move around it comfortably without issue just makes it even better. There are some spooky vibes in places, and much of its design is just classic Tomb Raider. There were two issues though. First of all, this is where I felt the upgrade mechanic got incredibly silly. It was already fairly arbitrary by this point, but being forced to take a minor detour just so I could jump a gap that I passed on the way was weird and pointless. And secondly, the level glitched and one of the guards I had to take out for his keycard just vanished, leading to some massive confusion. Thankfully, his keycard simply fell to the bottom of a ladder so it didn't break the game, but it was still weird. But apart from that, this level is full of cool ideas and shows that there truly was some significant potential to this game.
And I thought this would be one of my easy days.
Oh hey Curtis, it's been a while. And now we get to play you in all your angsty early 2000s glory. No, but seriously, I'm really not a fan of this guy. He's such an of-the-time edgy boy that he's just aged poorly. He's just so mean to everyone for no good reason, and that's before he starts letting mutant bodies hit the floor. Anyway, I haven't talked about the level itself. It's a weird one that introduces Curtis's special psychic powers that are used twice to find a code and literally nothing else. We don't even get to use his weird spiky floating disc weapon despite it being so prominent in his initial appearances. It really does point to something being massively unfinished, which is a real shame. There's some interesting stuff here though. The Sanitarium setting is spooky, even if it does lean into questionable old tropes about mental illness. Chasing a monstrous creature around the facility is a fun twist, even if the setup of it attacking a guard felt a bit clunky with the guy just casually hanging out behind a door for no reason. And the boss fight was massively underwhelming, and it dies way too often to the point where it gets silly. Is it dead this time? Oh no, it's another bait and switch. Oh, you rascal, you.
The entrance is underwater. No problem.
This is such a classic Tomb Raider puzzle box level in all the best ways. Although, if I'm honest, the whole thing felt a bit pointless because the creature you're supposed to distract with all this meat already seemed oblivious to Lara's presence when I accidentally dropped into the water at one point. But that's okay, I still went through the whole process because it was an enjoyable level. Although this room was completely pointless. It feels like there was meant to be more here, but it never got added in time. Strange.
The engraving shows the painting hidden in something called the Vault of Trophies.
Lara, I swear to God, when you go diving somewhere, could you please take an air tank? Why did it take you until Underworld to learn this? This isn't a complaint specific to Angel of Darkness, by the way, because she does this in Tomb Raider 2 and it was equally stupid there. You have to breathe. You're not a fish. This level's a short one, but it has some cool stuff going on. The underwater bit is a little bit annoying until you find the rebreather, but it's still got a cool puzzle. And this room with the fireplace, the massive angel portrait, and the skeleton just chilling out with a good book. Perfection. Love it. Up there with the best rooms in the series.
Don't worry about Ugly here. I can take care of her.
I have always hated this level. It is the epitome of everything wrong with Angel of Darkness. A design choice that doesn't fit the actual mechanics of the game, it's a nightmare to play with the original super clunky controls, and only marginally better when said controls are patched, and you have to do it all as Godsmack here. The central problem with this boss fight is it requires you to target specific parts of the boss and shoot those, but the auto-target system doesn't stop targeting the bits you've already dealt with, meaning a lot of wasted ammo and even more frustration. You can't even flick the right stick or something to change targets, which would at least go some way to fixing the issue. And it was so bad even with the patches that I had to download a save file. So once again, thank you to Stella of Tomb Raider Walkthroughs for providing those save files. Your sacrifice is commendable and I thank you for your service.
That vault has defeated us for months.
I still have this room as a save on my old PS2 memory card, so I recognise it quite well from the times I checked the save to see where I got to. It's got more cool designs as they really leaned into this ancient workshop vibe, which I honestly love. But oh boy, is the jump sequence leading up to this room bad. And part of it is the fault of the stuff I had to do to get this working reasonably well, namely the control setup, because somehow both the left bumper and trigger got assigned to duck and sprint and look were nowhere to be seen. And this jump sequence is one of the few times that the sprint is absolutely required. So how did I do this? With my elbow on the 0 key on my keyboard, which as you can probably imagine wasn't the easiest way to do this jump. Why didn't I just use keyboard, I hear you ask? Well, because all my Tomb Raider muscle memory is on controller thanks to the PS1 games, and I refuse to use anything else, so deal with it. And if that forces me to awkwardly elbow my keyboard to do this jump sequence, then I have to deal with that, that's on me. In conclusion, Haunted Alchemy Lab, yes. Awkward sprint jumping, no.
It is my destiny to breathe hell on earth. You are nothing to me.
Okay, I'm going to come out and say it. Basically, every boss in this game is rubbish. I've complained about the Proto-Nephilim and Boaz that you fight as Curtis, the assassin in the apartment building is just a battle of attrition, and the ghost in the Hall of Seasons was way too fiddly. But at least Eckhardt is an easy boss to cheese by staying crouched low to the ground. It's tedious, but it's not Boaz, so I can't complain. The second phase is a little annoying though, as there's no consistent way to avoid the energy shots, but at least now you can just burn through your remaining stock of health items to survive, since all you have to do is some ladder climbing and a big jump to win. The end.
The great work will be finished.
The patched version of Angel of Darkness is a massive improvement over the original, and once again the work done by Sasho, Nakamichi and Slayer is phenomenal. It's mostly in the movement speed, but the whole thing now just feels more like the 5 games that came before it. It controls mostly well, and as such the good aspects of the game can finally shine through. But within that, it's clear that so much still needs to be done, and it's way beyond the scope of some fan patches. This game is clearly missing so much that had to be left in pre-production simply to get the game out the door. Weird empty rooms, concepts that don't feel fully fleshed out, Curtis being presented as a big deal and then basically getting 2 levels to show us next to nothing about himself. It all screams a game that still desperately had more to show us, but Eidos wanted the game out the door to tie in with the second Angelina Jolie movie right now. But with the controls in a much more playable state, I can truly appreciate what did make it in. There are some solid ideas on show here, sometimes up there with the best of the series, and it's much easier to see where the more significant missteps could have been amazing had the game's development not been so tortured. Is it now my favourite Tomb Raider game? No, there are still too many glaring issues. The patches didn't fix everything, and there is still a lot of missed potential throughout. Plus those moments of weird misdirection I kept encountering were a real issue whenever they cropped up. But at the very least I do have a newfound appreciation for the game, and no longer consider it to be a trash fire that no one should ever play. And it's all down to the dedication of fans who wanted to see it get better so more people could enjoy it. And while it would be nice if games never launched in broken or messy states, the reality isn't that simple, and it's amazing to see folks dedicated to seeing games get closer to their potential. That they took something so hard to love and nurtured it into something more. I've released this as a Games Are Good episode, and this is why. Celebrating when a game can be flawed in significant ways, but still inspire its players in some way. Celebrating the dedication that fans can feel for the game that reached them in that way, and how that dedication can lead to even the more cynical players like myself turning their opinions around significantly. I used to hate Angel of Darkness and view it as a broken, irredeemable mess. And now I see it as a flawed masterpiece that was simply unfortunate enough to not get the love it deserved in the first place, and all it took was just improving the controls a little bit. So, for that, round of applause to those enterprising fans who helped make this happen. The Last Revelation is still the greatest Tomb Raider game though. Thank you for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this look through Angel of Darkness now that I've played it with better controls. And hey, look, my opinions have changed. I'm open to changing my opinion on things. So yeah, if you've enjoyed it, give me a like, leave a comment down below on your thoughts on what I had to say about the patched version of Angel of Darkness. And, you know, if you really liked this, then I also have a Patreon that you can donate to. Would really appreciate the support. But if not, I also have some videos on screen that you might be interested in as well. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you again very soon.